Welcome to the Cozy Storytime, your peaceful space to unwind and relax. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and like the video for more cozy stories every night. So, where are you watching it from? And what are you doing right now? I hope you enjoyed this story. Now, as you settle in, take a deep breath, let the weight of your day melt away, and let your mind drift with the story. No need to rush. Let the gentle rhythm of this tale guide you into a place of calm where time slows down and dreams begin. Close your eyes if you'd like. Let the night embrace you as we step into a world where magic lingers in the air and every moment feels like a soft whisper in the wind. The morning you leave for Hogwarts is wrapped in the quiet gray of a September fog, the kind that settles low and thick across the cobblestones of King's Cross Station, like a living thing too sleepy to drift away. The world is muffled, wrapped in soft cotton wool. Your boots click against the floor, though the sound seems shy, almost reluctant to interrupt the stillness of early morning. You pass families with trunks and owls, the odd flash of a wand quickly tucked away, mothers fussing over collars, fathers already halfway into their day's burdens, and children with eyes wide like polished glass marbles. Your trolley squeaks faintly as you guide it through the station, the edge of your trunk bumping gently with each uneven tile. There's a certain comfort in the routine, a suitcase stuffed with more books than robes, a one tucked securely in your sleeve, and the quiet thrum of magic just beneath your skin, humming like a heartbeat only you can hear. You approach the barrier between platforms 9 and 10, heart tightening with the familiar blend of nerves and wonder. The wall stands there as always, dull red brick, a few cracks at the edges, the smell of dust and iron in the air. People pass by without noticing it, blind to the magic folded into the crevices. You pause, place your hand on the cart, and inhale the scent of rust and soot and faraway dreams. Then you step forward, through the wall, and into the world that waits beyond. Platform 9 3/4 is quieter than you remember. The fog has followed you through the barrier, curling around the wheels of the gleaming scarlet train and the polished shoes of students and professors alike. It clings to robes and rises in soft tendrils, as if the air itself is whispering secrets you aren't meant to hear yet. The Hogwarts Express hisses gently, warm and alive, its carriages glowing faintly from within as if lit by enchanted embers. You take it all in slowly. Every scent, every sound. The distant hoot of an owl above the fog. The creak of old wood beneath shifting trunks. The scent of warm parchment and sugar from the food trolleys still being loaded. Somewhere nearby, a child laughs, quick, high, and fleeting, then falls silent again, swallowed by the hush. You find your compartment almost by accident, drawn by a feeling more than anything else. The hallway is quiet, the windows misted over, and for a moment, it feels as though you're the only one aboard. You slide open the door to a mostly empty space. The cushions are firm, the glass cold to the touch, and the air smells faintly of peppermint and old magic, layers upon layers of memories folded into the fabric of the seat. You sit near the window, not quite touching it, and rest your fingers on your knees. Outside, the fog thickens until the world disappears. It's just you now, you and the soft hiss of the train and the weight of anticipation pressing gently against your chest. Then, a knock. You turn, and Callan stands in the doorway, his robes slightly rumpled and his smile almost too wide for his face. His hair sticks out in odd directions like he ran through wind only he could feel, and his eyes shine with an earnest warmth that is already trying too hard to put you at ease. "Mind if I sit?" he asks, the question a little breathless, as if he's not sure he belongs here and hopes you'll lie and say he does. You nod, and he all but collapses onto the bench across from you, clutching his bag like it might vanish if he lets go. His wand pokes out from one sleeve, cracked clean in the middle and mended with silver thread and dragon glue. You notice it, and he catches your glance, shrugging with a sheepish grin. "It still works," he says, and you offer a smile back, small but real. You speak only a little on the way north. He tells you about a spell he tried that backfired and filled the common room with soap bubbles for a week. You tell him you like the quiet, and he says, "Yeah, me too," even though you both know he doesn't. But his chatter isn't annoying. It's like the rain, there, constant, but never loud enough to drown you. Somewhere around the third hour, the door slides open again without a knock. A figure stands there, a tall, quiet presence, robed in shadows despite the soft light of the compartment. The figure doesn't speak, doesn't ask to sit, just steps inside with the kind of silent authority that makes you straighten instinctively, as if caught doing something wrong. Amari. You don't know how you know the name, only that you do. Maybe someone whispered it once, or maybe the way he looks at you, like he's seen something in your future you haven't yet, plants it in your mind. His eyes are gray, not cold, but unreadable, like river stones buried just beneath moving water. He takes the farthest corner, folds himself into the seat without a sound, and gazes out the window like the mist holds answers. Callan tries to fill the silence with a joke about Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, but it dies in his throat. You watch Amari as he slips a thin black journal from his coat and begins to write with a quill that leaves no ink. Each stroke is silent. Each word vanishes as soon as it is written. You watch, unsure whether to feel uneasy or calm. The train rolls on. Through forests dappled in the gray hush of twilight, past fields tinged with fading green, over bridges that groan softly with age. The windows blur with condensation. Time folds in on itself, and the rhythms of the journey lull you into a near sleep. Evening begins to settle, and lanterns float down the corridors, casting flickering amber light across your lap. A warm, soft glow that smells faintly of wax and pine. Callan has dozed off, his head against the glass, breathing light and shallow. Amari hasn't moved in hours. Still writing, or watching, or both. You think of the castle, of stone halls and floating staircases, of midnight stars hanging over the black lake, of spells not yet learned, of mysteries not yet uncovered. You think of yourself walking through those doors again, a little older, a little less sure of the world. The train whistle calls once, long and low, like a warning or a lullaby. Outside, the shadows grow longer, and something stirs just beneath the fog, nothing you can see, but something you feel in your skin. A faint ripple in the weave of magic, like someone or something is waking up. Something not meant to travel with you. And though the others don't seem to notice it yet, you hold your breath. You know this year at Hogwarts will not be like the others. And somewhere in the distance, beneath trees older than time, a presence shifts. Waiting. Night has fully fallen by the time the train sighs to a stop. The Hogwarts Express exhales steam into the chilled air, clouds rising in great silvery plumes that drift toward the forest like memories. The fog has followed you here, thicker now, woven through with strands of moonlight and mystery. Lanterns bob in the hands of staff and older students, casting honey-colored halos across the platform. You step down from the train and feel the stones beneath your boots, slick with dew, whispering of stories yet to begin. Callan stretches beside you, yawning and blinking like an owl caught in daylight. Amari is already moving ahead, silent as a shadow cast by candlelight. The boats wait on the black water, their wooden hulls slick with mist, as though they've been pulled from the belly of the lake itself. You, Callan, and the other first years climb aboard. Amari does not speak, but he sits across from you again, as though it's already been decided. The lake is silent but not still. Something stirs beneath the surface, something ancient and slow and enormous. You do not see it, but you feel it in your ribs, like a second pulse. The castle rises above the cliffs, golden windows glowing softly, towers piercing the fog. It feels like a dream you had long ago, returning now in waking form. The boats glide forward without oars, as if pulled by a gentle current. You say nothing. You only watch the reflection of stars ripple on the water. You are almost there. When you pass under the stone arch and into the cavern where the boats dock, the chill sharpens. Water drips from the ceiling in a slow rhythm, echoing softly, like the counting of a great clock. Time stretches long and heavy here. You are guided up winding stone steps to the gray oak doors of Hogwarts. They open with a low, groaning sound that curls around your spine and settles there. Inside, torchlight flickers against ancient walls, casting shadows that reach farther than they should. The entrance hall is vast, filled with the low murmur of nervous breath. First years press close together, their eyes darting from one corner to another. The sorting ceremony awaits. Professor Wexley, the new deputy headmistress, stands with her back straight and her smile tight. Her robes are trimmed with gold and her eyes are the pale green of pressed leaves. She clears her throat and the whispers fade like smoke. The sorting will now begin, she says, and gestures toward the heavy wooden doors of the great hall. They swing open, revealing a room filled with soft candlelight, an enchanted ceiling mirroring the starlit sky outside, and 4 long tables shimmering with anticipation. Students turn their heads as you enter in a quiet procession. You walk slowly, trying not to feel the weight of hundreds of eyes. At the front, the sorting hat sits on its stool, looking as worn and alive as ever. You've heard its voice in stories. Now it waits in silence. One by one, names are called. The hat sings no song this year. Just listens. Judges. Sorts. Callan is sorted into Hufflepuff, of course. His name is called, and he stumbles forward, almost trips, then laughs nervously as the hat calls the house before even touching his head. He grins at you as he walks off, already mouthing something you can't quite read. Then your name is called. You walk forward, your heart a tight drum in your chest. The hat is warm and heavy when placed on your head. Its voice is soft, like parchment rustling in the wind. Ah, it says, curious. Very curious. It pauses for what feels like minutes. You feel it rooting around inside you, stirring up thoughts like leaves in a pond. Then, finally, it says a house, Ravenclaw, and the table erupts in gentle applause. You go to your seat, but your eyes keep drifting to the sorting hat, still resting on the stool, waiting. More names. More cheers. You lose track until something shifts. There's a pause. A silence that stretches just slightly too long. Then, Professor Wexley speaks again. Cale Thorne, The name is unfamiliar. You glance toward the last few students. A boy steps forward. You hadn't noticed him before. He isn't tall, but he holds himself as though the air makes room for him. His robes are darker than they should be, not black, but shadowed somehow, like ink soaked in velvet. His hair is pale, almost silver, but not from age. His eyes are strange. You can't decide what color they are. Blue, green, gray, all and none at once. He walks with a calmness that feels wrong, not rehearsed, but certain. When he sits, the sorting hat is silent. It does not speak. It does not shift or sigh or groan. Instead, a low hum fills the room, a sound you feel in your teeth, not your ears. The candles flicker. The enchanted ceiling clouds slightly, as if confused. A few students glance at each other. One of the professors frowns. Still the hat says nothing. The hum grows, barely. A frequency. Not magic, exactly. Not that you know of. Then, at last, a single word. Undefined. The word is not shouted. It is not sung. It is simply said. Flat. Measured. Gasps spread like wildfire. The hat has never said such a thing. Professor Wexley's smile does not falter, but her hands tighten at her sides. She walks to the boy and clears her throat. Kale, you will be placed in temporary accommodation until further consideration, she says, voice clipped. He does not react. He rises and walks silently to an empty seat at the edge of the staff table where no one else sits. Not even the teachers look directly at him. You glance to Amari. He is watching the boy with an intensity that sends a cold bloom into your chest. Not surprise, not fear, something deeper. Recognition, perhaps. Callan leans across the Hufflepuff table and mouths, "What just happened?" You don't answer. You can't. Because even though the sorting continues, even though food appears and laughter resumes, a tremor remains beneath the surface. You feel it in your bones. Something has shifted. Cale Thorne watches the room with calm disinterest, as if already past the need to impress or perform. He eats nothing, says nothing, and when his gaze drifts toward you, just for a moment, just a flicker, you feel as though you've been weighed, measured, and quietly filed away. You try to eat. Try to laugh at Callan's attempts to make sense of it all. Try to ignore the way Amari keeps glancing toward the boy, eyes narrowed. But the warmth of the great hall is dulled now, as though something invisible sits between you and the firelight. And in the quiet spaces of your mind, a question begins to form. What is he? You find yourself waking before dawn more often than you intend to. The Ravenclaw dormitory is high in the tower, curled into a quiet spiral that seems untouched by time. The windows look out over the forbidden forest, and in the blue hours before sunrise, the trees seem like ink stains spreading over the land. When the rest of the school still breathes in sleep, you pull on your robes and walk, drawn by something you don't yet have words for. Your steps echo faintly through the halls, the air thick with the scent of old stone, beeswax polish, and the distant trace of something floral, ghost lilies, perhaps, from the enchanted gardens near the greenhouses. You pass portraits who stir as you pass, some murmuring drowsily, others only watching, eyes following with the lazy curiosity of half-forgotten dreams. It is on your third morning like this that you find Amari again, not in the corridors, not among the staircases shifting with silent grace, but in the library. The doors creak open gently, as though they recognize you now, and inside, the air is warm and dry, tinged with the perfume of parchment, ink, and the softest smell of burning pine. Dust dances in the thin light filtering through tall windows, and the silence here is a living thing, fragile, sacred. Amari is sitting in the far alcove beneath the arched window with his legs folded, a book open across his knees. He doesn't look up as you approach, though he does close the book, sliding it back into his satchel without a sound. You're not sure if he expected you or if he's simply always prepared. I didn't think anyone else came here this early, you say softly. I don't sleep much, he replies, voice smooth as silk left in the cold. The castle speaks more clearly in the quiet. You don't question him. Not anymore. Amari always speaks in half-truths and layered meanings, as though he's translating something older and stranger into language you can barely hold. You sit across from him at the table, and for a time, neither of you speak. The silence is not empty. It's filled with the slow tick of the grandfather clock near the restricted section, the occasional flutter of pages turning themselves, and the faint thrum of the school's heartbeat, something only those who are very quiet, very still, can feel. A low vibration in the wood, in the air, in your bones. You clear your throat. Have you seen him? You ask. There is no need to say his name. You both know who you mean. Amari's eyes meet yours. Gray. Still. Yes. You wait, but he says nothing else. You lean forward slightly. He's not in any house. He's not in any classes. But he's here. Amari tilts his head. He is, he says. But not in the way we are. You frown. What does that mean? Amari doesn't answer directly. He rarely does. Instead, he reaches into his satchel again and pulls out a narrow volume bound in dull blue leather. There is no title on the spine, no mark on the cover. Have you read the Seer's Compendium? He asks. You shake your head. He slides the book across the table. It lands without a sound, the leather warm beneath your fingertips. When you open it, the pages are filled with diagrams, circles within circles, ink-stained maps of constellations not found in any astronomy class, and notes in cramped, curling script. He was seen, Amari says quietly, before he was born. You look up. What? By a seer. Decades ago. Maybe longer. It was never confirmed. The visions were fragmented. But one name appeared. Over and over again. Cale Thorne. Amari nods. A boy who appears outside the pattern. Not dark. Not light. Just other. A chill laces through the stillness of the library. You flip through more pages, some blank, some marked with symbols you can't understand. You feel like you've cracked open something you shouldn't be reading. Something unfinished. What does he want? You whisper. Amari doesn't answer right away. He looks past you, toward the windows, where morning light has begun to thread gold into the blue-gray sky. I don't think he wants anything. I think he was sent. That sits between you like a stone in cold water. Sent. Not born, not arrived. By who? Amari closes his eyes for a moment. His voice, when it returns, is almost inaudible. That's what I'm trying to find out. You don't ask more. Not then. The rest of the day drifts by in a strange haze. Classes come and go, charms with Professor Fletchley, where Callan accidentally sends his own satchel spinning into the fireplace, herbology in the greenhouses, where the scent of damp earth clings to your robes long after you leave. Everything feels distant, disconnected, as though part of you is still sitting at that table in the library, staring at diagrams of futures that may or may not exist. You see Cale only once that day. He's standing at the edge of the courtyard as the sun dips behind the towers, throwing long golden shadows over the stone. He doesn't move. He simply watches the sky, his pale hair catching the light like threadbare silk. No one talks to him. No one dares. Even the professors glance past him as though his presence is a trick of the eye, a thing to be tolerated but not acknowledged. The air around him feels wrong. Not cold, exactly, but brittle, like glass about to crack. Callan catches up with you that evening as you walk back to the tower. His arms are full of books, most of which are threatening to tumble out of his grip. Have you noticed the torches flicker when he's near? He whispers as he struggles to keep up. It's not just me, right? I thought maybe I was having a moment, stress-induced pyrotechnic paranoia, but no, it's real. You give him a look. I'm serious, he insists, voice low. He passed me on the 3rd floor, and I swear my wand twitched. You sigh. Maybe your wand's just reacting to stress. Callan hesitates. It's been doing that a lot lately. You glance down at the wand in his hand, still bound in silver thread. Broken, but functional. Damaged, but loyal. There's something about it that echoes the feeling you get when Cale is near, like it shouldn't work, but does anyway. Like it's bending reality a little just to exist. Amari says someone sent him, you say suddenly. Callan blinks. Sent who? Cale. Callan frowns, and then his expression changes slowly, like clouds parting to reveal a shape beneath. Not quite fear. Not quite realization. But something beginning. Sent from where? He asks. You shake your head. You don't know. Not yet. That night, you dream of mirrors. Endless, floating mirrors suspended in a sea of mist. You walk between them, barefoot and silent. Each mirror shows a different version of the castle, Hogwarts burning, frozen, flooded, abandoned. You reach for one, and the surface ripples like water, pulling your reflection into something else. You wake before dawn, your heart hollow and humming. The fog is heavier the next morning. You pull on your robes and step into the halls once more. You know the silence is hiding something. You just haven't decided if it's afraid of you, or waiting for you to be afraid. The castle shifts with the changing season. Autumn deepens, and the air turns crisper, the wind tasting of wood smoke and fallen leaves. Sunlight filters through the high windows like golden dust, and every hallway seems just slightly dimmer than the last time you walked it. You start to feel that time here is not linear, but layered, like threads of wool woven into a tapestry too vast to ever fully see. You walk more, now. Not because you're restless, though perhaps you are, but because the castle calls to you. in ways it doesn't to the others. Doors open before you touch them. Staircases wait, unmoving, as if allowing you passage. Sometimes, when you pass a painting, the subject steps aside without a word, as though they know your face from somewhere else entirely. Callan says you're imagining it. Amari says nothing. Kale says nothing either, but only because you've never truly spoken. Not yet. It begins with a whisper, or perhaps only the memory of one. You're in the library again, half asleep over a parchment of ancient runes homework, your quill a dried crescent of ink. The room is nearly empty, only the quiet shifting of Madame Pants in the distance and the flutter of some unseen book resettling itself on the shelves. You rub your eyes. The candlelight blurs. And then, faintly, too faintly for anyone else to have heard, it comes. Your name. Not shouted. Not spoken. Exhaled. You turn. No one is there. But something, a flicker, a movement you can't quite catch, draws your attention to the west wing of the library. Toward the restricted section. You shouldn't go there. Not without permission. Not without a professor. But the lock on the gate clicks softly as you approach, and the chain unwinds itself like a ribbon falling from silk. Inside, the air is colder. The lanterns burn lower. The books hum. Not loud, but deep beneath their leather bindings, as if still dreaming. And that's where you find it. The mirror. Tall, arched, and half covered in a cloth dark as midnight. It stands between shelves that have been abandoned by dust and spiders alike, too reverent for decay, too forgotten to fear. You pull the cloth away slowly. The fabric hisses across the glass. At first, it reflects nothing. Not the room. Not the candlelight. Not you. Only the frame gleams, old bronze laced with fine etchings, unreadable runes carved like scars. And then, slowly, the surface shimmers. And the faces begin to appear. Not yours. Dozens. Hundreds. Faces you do not recognize, some young, some old, all watching you. Their expressions are soft. Not kind, not cruel. Simply waiting. You step closer. The mirror does not shift. The faces do not fade. And then you see one. Amari. You blink and it's gone. Another, Callan, younger, laughing, his wand whole. Then Kale. He does not move. But he is the only one who sees you back. His eyes meet yours through the glass, and though his expression doesn't change, something in your chest tightens like a held breath. His hand lifts, only slightly, barely, and the surface ripples again. Then nothing. You reach for the mirror. Don't. The voice stops you cold. You turn, your pulse loud in your ears. Amari stands just beyond the archway, his face half in shadow. That mirror, he says, stepping closer, doesn't show what you want. Or even who you are. It shows who's watching. Your mouth is dry. Watching? Amari nods. Every spell leaves residue. Every thought, a thread. Magic is not confined to wands or books. It's in the spaces between. And some mirrors are made to catch what lingers there. You step back from the mirror. The faces begin to fade. You've seen it before, you say. Amari's gaze is steady. Once. You want to ask more, who made it, why it's here, why no one speaks of it, but there's a weight in the room that silences you. The air thickens, and you feel it again, the presence you started to notice when Kale is near. As if something unseen is pressing inward, gently but firmly, like a tide brushing the edges of your thoughts. You leave the restricted section together, but Amari walks in silence beside you, and the library seems to close behind you like a living thing, swallowing its secrets. You dream of the mirror that night. But it is not in the library. It stands in a forest clearing under a sky that does not belong to this world, purple and gold and wrong. You are alone, but the faces in the mirror scream. Not aloud. In silence. Their mouths wide, eyes wild. The surface shakes. And in the center, Kale again. Not older, not younger, but different. He steps forward through the glass. You wake, cold and trembling. In the morning, Callan meets you at breakfast with dark circles beneath his eyes. He talks too fast, his hands jittery. I found something, he whispers, glancing around. About him. About Kale. You sit straighter. Callan pulls a folded paper from inside his robe. His fingers are stained with ink and something else, ash, maybe. I snuck into the records room, he says, not even trying to sound guilty. The list of first-year enrollments. The parchment updates itself magically. Names appear when the acceptance letters are sent. All of them are there. Except his. You stare at the paper. Callan leans closer. It's like he was never invited. Your heart thuds. He just appeared? Callan nods. 3 days before the train. Headmistress's seal. Added by hand. Not magic. Ink and quill. By her? No. That's the thing. Her signature is real. But someone else added the name. Forced the seal. Your thoughts blur. The mirror. The faces. The silent sorting. The strange way the castle reacts when Kale walks through it, like it remembers him from a time before he was born. Someone let him in, you murmur. Callan shivers. Yeah. But why? Amari appears beside you, silent as ever. He places a thin, folded piece of parchment on the table. No greeting. Just an answer. He's not just here, he says. He's been here before. Your breath catches. What do you mean? Amari opens the parchment. Inside is a sketch, quick, rough, done in charcoal. It shows Hogwarts, but not quite as it is now. Some towers are different. Some doors missing. In the corner, small, almost hidden, is a boy. Kale. Not identical, but close enough. The same eyes. The date scrawled beneath is over 70 years old. He's not a student, Amari says, voice low. He's a message. You look up at him, and for the first time since you arrived, you see something in his face that isn't control or quiet confidence. It's fear. And something else. Recognition. The room of requirement is not marked on any map. You've walked past its corridor countless times, between the tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy and the window where snow sometimes collects, even when the weather outside is dry. You've never truly noticed it, not until this morning, when Amari stops without warning and places a hand against the wall. There is no incantation, no whispered word, only a breath held and then released. The stone shifts beneath your gaze. A door, tall, silent. It grows out of the wall like it has always belonged, and yet was never there. You feel something ancient in your chest stir, as though your heartbeat is suddenly being counted by something older than your body. Amari glances at you. It only opens when it's needed, he says. You hesitate. But we didn't ask for anything. He doesn't answer, just pushes the door open and steps inside. You follow. At first, you don't know what you're seeing. The room is vast, dark. A single chandelier floats in the center of the ceiling, dripping with soft blue light like raindrops frozen mid-fall. Beneath it, the space is filled with shelves, stacks, towers of objects, some familiar, most not. One's broken in half and repaired with string. Books bound shut with wire. Cloaks that shimmer, pulse, and then lie still. The air smells of old wax, dry herbs, and the faint, iron-tinged scent of forgotten magic. Callan is already there. He must have been waiting. His hair is windswept, eyes wide. I think this is the room's archive, he says, voice low. It remembers things people needed to hide, or things they were afraid to forget. You walk slowly through the shadows, your fingers brushing the edges of broken portraits, shattered orbs that still hum faintly, and pages filled with spells you've never learned, written in languages that shift when you try to focus. Amari leads you to the center, where a circular table waits beneath the chandelier. Upon it sits a single object. A key. It's old. Bronze. Worn smooth by time and fingers long since turned to dust. At first, it looks ordinary. But as you approach, you notice the pattern carved into the head of it, an eye surrounded by 12 stars. You reach for it. Wait, Amari says. You pause, hand inches from the key. He studies it. This is not an ordinary key. It's for a door that doesn't exist anymore. Callan swallows. Then what's it doing here? You all look down at it again. It means the door's coming back, you whisper. There's silence. Long. Still. As if the room is holding its breath with you. Callan clears his throat. There's more. I found something else. He pulls a folded piece of parchment from his sleeve. His hands shake slightly. You unfold it carefully. It's a letter. The ink faded, but the signature unmistakable. Headmistress of Andrea Blackthorne. It's dated 15 years ago. Short. Barely legible. But the meaning lands like a stone in deep water. The boy is not from our time. He is a remainder. A knot. I have done what I can to delay his return, but the room knows. It will find the key when it is ready. If you find this, gods help us, it means the clock has begun again. You stare at the paper, the ink, the finality of that last sentence. A knot. You remember Kale standing in the courtyard, watching the sky, unmoving. You remember the mirror and how his eyes were the only ones to follow yours. He's not a person, you murmur. He's a tangle in time. Amari nods slowly. A residue. Callan sinks onto a low bench. Why send him back? There is no answer. But the key glows faintly beneath the chandelier, as if in response. Its shimmer grows with the silence, and something deep inside the room shifts. Not sound, not movement, but pressure. Like you're no longer alone. You glance toward the shelves. Something has changed. In the far corner, a door has appeared. It wasn't there when you entered. You're sure of it. Did anyone, you begin? Amari is already walking toward it. His steps are slow, deliberate. You follow, heart pounding, and Callan brings up the rear, one drawn but trembling slightly. The door is unlike the first. This one is rough. With splintered by time, metal hinges green with age. The handle is cold when you touch it, as though it's been waiting a long time. Do we open it? You ask. Callan hesitates. Is that even the right key? It's the only one we have, Amari says. He inserts the key. It fits. The door unlocks with a sound like breaking ice. Inside, the room is small, bare. Only a single pedestal stands in the center, and upon it, resting on a patch of deep blue velvet, is a locket. Black iron. Simple, but radiating something that makes your skin prickle. You don't step closer. Neither does Amari. Callan is the one who whispers, "Is that?" Amari cuts him off with a look. "No names," he says. "Not here." You feel it too, now. The atmosphere has changed. The air is thicker. Your thoughts are slower, heavy, like walking through water. The locket vibrates, quietly, like it's humming a song you're not meant to hear. It's tethered to him, Amari says. That's why you returned. It wasn't destroyed. Callan stares. You think it's a... No names, Amari repeats, harsher this time. You look at him. If this was hidden, someone hid it here. Why? Because they couldn't destroy it, he says. You're silent for a moment, listening to the hum. It's not just a tether, you say softly. It's a gate. Amari turns to you. You don't know how you know. Only that you do. When the room opens, you whisper, so does the gate. And if he's the knot, then this, you motion toward the locket, is the thread. The door behind you slams shut. All three of you whirl around. The chandelier outside is flickering. The room feels darker now. The locket's hum rises to a sharp whine. And then it stops. Stillness. Then, quietly, like a drop falling in a deep well, a voice. Not outside. Not beside you. Inside you. You're closer than they ever were. You don't move. Neither do the others. Amari steps in front of you, his stance rigid. 3 keys. 3 names. Only one gate. The voice dissolves like mist. You open your mouth, but there's nothing to say. The locket no longer hums. Amari closes the door. This time, the key turns with resistance, like the room itself doesn't want it shut. "We have to hide it again," he says. Callan's voice is a whisper. "Can we?" You look at the locket once more. It looks so ordinary, so small, and yet your hands refuse to touch it. You wake to wind. It slips in through the high windows of your dormitory, rustling the heavy curtains like fingertips brushing velvet. It shouldn't be possible. The windows are shut. The sky outside is still, gray, unmoving. But the wind finds a way. It smells of iron and pine, of something burned long ago. It curls around your bedposts, whispers through your sheets, carries the ghost of a voice you cannot understand. You rise before dawn. The halls are dark and hollow, the sconce is cold and unlit. You do not light your wand. You know the way now. You know the patterns in the stone, the weight of the silence. Hogwarts has begun to speak to you in riddles of shadow and sound. Callan is already in the great hall, seated alone with his hands wrapped around a mug of untouched cocoa. He looks up when you enter, and for once, he doesn't say anything. Just stares. His eyes are rimmed with red. You wonder if he slept at all. "You hear it too," he says eventually. "The wind." You nod. Amari arrives not long after, silent as always, though his cloak is soaked at the hem. You don't ask where he's been. You don't ask why his fingers are trembling slightly when he places a folded piece of parchment on the table. It's old, so all the edges crumble at your touch. But the ink is strong, burned into the fibers of the paper like scars. It's a map. Not the castle. Not entirely. It shows the castle and the lake, yes. The forest, dark and sprawling. The towers and the grounds. But also beyond. Underground. Below the dungeons, below the catacombs. Tunnels, vaults. Chambers that aren't on any official record. Callan leans over it, pointing to a faint circle inked in gold. "What's this?" Amari's voice is low. "The Windgate." You feel it again then, that breeze, curling at the nape of your neck despite the still air of the great hall. The forbidden wind. "I thought it was just legend," you whisper. Callan half smiles, though it doesn't reach his eyes. Everything's a legend until it breathes on your neck. The Windgate is not on any official list of magical locations. You've only ever heard it mentioned once, in a footnote, buried in a book that wasn't supposed to leave the Department of Mysteries. A place beneath Hogwarts where magic gathers unnaturally. A threshold. Or a scar. No one goes there. No one comes back. You spend the day preparing. Not in the traditional sense. There are no hexes to memorize, no potions to brew. What you need cannot be found in a classroom. You sit with Amari beneath the ivy arch outside Greenhouse 4, and he shows you how to listen, not just hear, but truly listen to the air. "There's language in it," he says, closing his eyes. "Old as bone." You try. You let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts fall silent. And then you hear it. Not words, exactly. But intention. Movement. A shape forming in the wind. You open your eyes with a start. Amari is watching you. You felt it. You nod. That night, the three of you descend. It begins at the statue of the one-eyed witch. The passage behind it has always led to Hogsmeade, or so students believe. But there's another turn, deep in the dark, hidden behind a wall that pretends to be solid. Amari finds this seam. The stone gives way to blackness. You light your wand. The air grows colder with each step. Moisture clings to the walls. The silence becomes oppressive, alive, pressing against your ribs. The path winds downward. You lose track of time. You pass carvings, old ones, etched by hands long gone. Symbols you do not recognize. Circles within circles. Eyes without pupils. A tree with no leaves. Eventually, the tunnel opens into a chamber. The Windgate. It's smaller than you imagined. A round room, domed like the inside of a great bell. At the center, a pillar of obsidian. Floating above it, a hole in the air. Not a portal. Not a door. Just absence. Wind spills from it constantly, but there is no sky above. No opening. Just that empty space, exhaling. Callan shudders. It's like it's breathing. Amari steps forward, eyes fixed on the hole. It's not a place. It's a tear. You feel it before you hear it. A thrum. Like a pulse. The locket in your satchel begins to vibrate. You pull it out, slowly. Its glow has returned, faint but steady. It's no longer humming. It's listening. You glance at Amari. It wants to open, you say. He nods. And this is where it will. Callan edges backward. We should destroy it. We can't, Amari replies. Not with magic. Not with fire. Not even with intent. You remember what he said before. It's a gate. Not the thing beyond, but the invitation. You hold the locket tightly. The wind is stronger now, wild. It pulls at your robes, claws at your skin. Not angry, desperate. It knows you're here, and something knows it in return. Closer, the voice says. Inside you. Around you. Impossible to locate. Almost. The locket glows brighter, then dims. You see it. A flicker. A shadow in the wind. Kale. Not standing. Not walking. Just there. His shape blurred. Transparent. But his eyes are clear. He's not watching the room. He's watching you. Why are you here? You whisper. No answer. He lifts a hand, and you feel something move, not outside, but within. Like a door creaking open inside your chest. You take a step forward. Amari grabs your arm. Don't, he says, fiercely. He's not here. Not fully. Not yet. Callan's one is pointed, but his hand is shaking. We need to go. But Kale is still watching. His lips move. One word. You hear it as if whispered into your soul. Key. The locket pulses. Amari pulls you back. We've seen enough. You don't resist. But as you retreat, the wind screams. Not loud. Inside. Like a memory trying to survive. The wind gate seals behind you as you flee up the tunnel. Stone grinds. Dust falls. And yet the wind follows. Whispers. One word. Over and over. Closer. You dream of a field of ash. Not burning, not smoldering, just still. Gray and endless. You walk barefoot across the cinders, each step sinking slightly, like memory swallowing itself. In the center of the field, there is a tree. Twisted, hollow, its branches like open hands. Hanging from it is the locket. You reach for it. And wake. Your room is still. Too still. Even the wind is gone. Callan is sitting in the corner chair, legs drawn up, hugging a pillow to his chest. He looks like he hasn't moved in hours. There's a thin trail of dry blood under one nostril, and you wonder what he saw in his sleep. They're memories, he says, voice flat. From the gate. You sit up. He doesn't look at you. They don't feel like dreams anymore. The castle feels brittle that day. Cold despite the sunlight. The torches flicker even when there's no draft. Paintings whisper to each other in languages you don't speak. The suits of armor shift just slightly when you walk past, as if something unseen brushes by your side. You find Amari in the astronomy tower, staring out at the distant storm forming over the forbidden forest. There's a spell, he says, without turning. You wait. A spell that was removed from every book. Every archive. Every memory. Your skin tightens. How do you know? He turns to you slowly, his eyes unreadable. Because I remembered it anyway. You sit beside him on the stone bench. The wind at this height is sharp, slicing. But it feels less menacing than the stillness below. They called it Retro Sanctum, Amari says. The last boundary. You say nothing, letting the name echo in your head. It tastes old. Sacred. Like something never meant to be spoken aloud. It was the only spell ever written to unmake time, he continues. Not to reverse it. Not to travel through it. But to unravel it entirely. Turn it back into thread. Possibility. You think of Kale. And the gate. And someone used it? Amari nods. 15 years ago. Right here. In Hogwarts. You both know who. Headmistress Evandria Blackthorn. The name haunts everything now. Every corridor. Every glimmer of light in the halls. You've found pieces of her decisions hidden in old letters, burnt corners of books, whispered warnings etched in one light along stone walls. She didn't just try to banish Gale. She tried to unmake him. But something went wrong. He didn't die, you say aloud. He folded. Into time, Amari agrees. Into the wind. You feel sick. And the spell, you ask. What happened to it? He pulls something from his pocket. A sliver of parchment wrapped in oilcloth. I found this, he says. Behind the statue of Morgana on the 3rd floor. Trapped in a ward so old I nearly lost a hand getting it free. He unfolds it slowly. It's not large, barely the size of your palm, but the ink glows faintly, pulsing with something ancient. There are no instructions, just a symbol, a triangle inside a circle, bisected by a vertical line, and beneath it, a single word written in a language older than Hogwarts itself. Callan finds you both just before dusk. His face is pale, his hands ink-stained. I found a copy, he says. Not of the spell itself, but a description. You follow him to the library. Not the public one, the other one. The library below the library, where old books go to molder and breathe. Callan pulls a black-bound volume from the stack and opens it to a middle page. It smells of smoke and salt. You read aloud. Retro Sanctum, the unmaking, may only be cast by 3 whose names have been marked by time's wound. It requires the knot, the thread, and the weaver. Once spoken, it cannot be recalled. Once cast, it may never be cast again. You don't know what it means at first. Then the pieces begin to slide into place. Kale, the knot, the locket, the thread, and one of you, the weaver. Callan stares at the text for a long time. Then he says, quietly, I think it's me. You look at him, startled. Why, you ask. He doesn't answer right away. Just takes a deep breath and shows you the scar on his arm. It looks old, older than it should be. A spiral burned into the skin with delicate precision. Magic. Ancient. Permanent. It's not from here, he says. I had it when I arrived at Hogwarts. No one knows how. You feel cold. You're the weaver. Amari nods. That's why the gate calls to him too. The locket is quiet in your bag, but you can feel its awareness. It's listening. You don't want to speak the spell. No one does. It feels too final, too heavy, like something sacred you're not meant to hold. But the castle grows darker each day. The wind no longer whispers, it howls. And Kale has begun appearing in mirrors. Not full-bodied, not clear. Just his eyes. Watching. Waiting. As if he knows you've found the spell. As if he's daring you to use it. That night, you sit alone by the lake, the sky a wide bruise of stars. You hold the parchment in your hands. Retro Sanctum. You whisper it once. The water stills. Not a ripple. Not a breath of breeze. The moon halts in its arc. And in that single suspended moment, you understand. To cast it is not to undo Kale. It is to undo everything he's touched. The magic. The wound. The scar that binds him to this place. And maybe, just maybe, you wake to silence. Not the gentle hush of early morning. Not the muffled quiet of snow drifting against the windows. This is a deeper silence, thicker, like velvet soaked in ink. A stillness that has weight. Texture. It fills the room, presses into your ears, wraps around your ribs. The wind has stopped. Completely. You sit up in bed and listen for anything, footsteps in the corridor, the rustle of leaves, the occasional clatter of peeves tossing things off the banisters, but the world holds its breath. It is time. The locket rests on your bedside table, motionless. Its glow has returned, steady and patient, as though it too has been waiting. You reach for it, fingers brushing the cool metal, and feel a shiver run through your palm. Not fear. Not power. Recognition. You are ready, it says without words. Callan and Amari meet you just past the boathouse. The lake lies unnaturally still, like a mirror without a reflection. Even the squid has vanished from its depths. Callan doesn't speak. He simply nods and offers you his hand. The spiral scar on his wrist catches the weak morning light, pulsing softly like a second heartbeat. You take his hand, and Amari lays his over both of yours. In that small, trembling circle, the spell begins. You don't cast it yet. You only remember it. Each of you recalls a part, 3 fragments, like strands of a song long forgotten. Callan is the weaver. You are the thread. And Amari, as you now understand, was the one meant to tie the knot shut. To end it. He knew from the start. That's why his silences were so heavy. Why he watched instead of warned. The knowledge was his burden from the beginning. Kill will come when the wind returns, he says, voice low. Not before. The wind gate is the breath he needs to speak. You walk toward it together. The castle is empty. You pass portraits without eyes, staircases frozen mid-turn. Suits of armor stand sentinel, but none move. Even the ghosts are gone. The great heart of Hogwarts has gone quiet, awaiting your choice. Down through the passages. Past the walls that pretended to be solid. Past time. You reach the wind gate just as the wind begins again. This time, it is not subtle. Not a breeze. It rushes in all at once, as though the castle itself inhales for the first time in centuries. Dust lifts from the floor. Your robes billow. Hair lifts from your shoulders. And Kale steps forward. He is no longer a boy. Not truly. His face is ageless, silver-eyed, his robe shifting like smoke. The wind moves around him, not through him. You feel the pressure of his presence in your teeth, your bones. But he doesn't attack. He waits. Why? You whisper. He tilts his head. You came. You wanted this. I wanted to be remembered, he says, and his voice is both echo and breath. They tried to erase me, break me into silence. But memory is magic too. You hold up the locket. Then why give us this? Kale's smile is soft, almost sad, because to remember something fully is to release it. Your hands tremble. Callan steps closer to you. I'm ready, he says. You draw the circle in the air with your wand. Amari places the parchment at the center of the floor, and the sigil flares to life, bright, golden, humming with restrained power. Then, together, you speak the spell. Retro Sanctum. The air shifts. Not all at once. It folds. Like pages turning backward, slowly. Light bends. The walls shimmer. Kale closes his eyes. The wind rises and then collapses inward. The wind contracts, sucking air and silence into itself. The locket glows so brightly it burns your hand, but you do not let go. You see pieces of Kale scatter. Not his body. Not his soul. His history. A letter from a professor, unopened. A sketchbook in the margins of an old potions text. A broken wand, snapped and hidden beneath floorboards. These fragments rise like ash, caught in the golden glow of the sigil, spinning slowly around the room. Kale watches them go. He says nothing as his shape begins to blur. His voice, when it comes, is barely more than a breath. Thank you. Then he is gone. The gate sighs shut. The wind stops. The silence returns, but this time it is peaceful. Not absence. Completion. You wake in the hospital wing. Madame Pomfrey is humming softly in the next room, arranging tinctures. The sky outside is blue. Bright. The kind of spring blue that only appears after storms have passed. Callan sits beside you, flipping through a herbology book as if nothing happened. He looks different. Older. No scar. You blink. Where's Amari? Callan blinks too. Who? Your breath catches. You sit up. Amari, you repeat. Tall. Quiet. Black cloak. The one who? Callan's face shifts into confusion. Then concern. I don't know anyone by that name. You stumble out of bed and rush to the common room. To the hallway near Greenhouse 4. To the ivy arch where you used to sit. Nothing. Not even a trace. His name is gone. The third piece of the spell. He didn't just cast it with you. He became part of it. The knot closed. You wanted the castle that day with Callan. Everything is normal. Strangely so. Students laugh. Classes resume. Even the portraits are back in their frames, unaware they ever left. But the air has changed. It feels cleaner. Quieter. The locket is still with you, but it no longer glows. No longer pulses. It's just a charm now. A shell without a song. You wear it anyway. Because you remember. Because someone has to. You and Callan sit by the lake at sunset, watching the light ripple like threads over the water. He turns to you suddenly. I had a dream last night, he says. There was a tree in a field, and something hanging from the branches. Your heart catches. What was it? He frowns. I don't know. I can't remember. But I think it was important. You smile faintly. It was, you whisper. The wind stirs the grass gently, and you lie back, letting it sing past your ears. The breath between seconds. The moment between memory and forgetting. Magic always leaves something behind. A feeling. A name. A story. And sometimes, if you listen closely enough, a whisper in the wind. Thank you for joining me in tonight's story. I hope it brought you peace and comfort, and that you feel a little closer to a restful, peaceful sleep. Take a moment to breathe deeply, allowing the quiet to settle around you, knowing that the world outside can wait. You've taken this time for yourself, and now it's time to let go. Remember, you are safe, you are calm, and you are exactly where you need to be. Until next time, may your dreams be as gentle as the night, and may the stars guide you softly to sleep. Sleep well, and good night.